You know, I feel like I've been here before. Yeah, this is kind of bringing back some memories. Well, he was useless, but anyway, here we go, guys. It's the Mega Man X2 single segment run, Let's Try Not to Die. And really, the main reason I'm doing this is just because of that. I want to see if I can. I've never been able to do that before in this game. In fact, of the few hundred games I've probably beaten in my life, to this date I've only managed to beat 2 of them without dying. Mega Man 4, which you guys saw earlier, and Mega Man X4, somehow. I have no idea how it happened either. Surprisingly, though, I haven't been able to beat this one, which is relatively easy, except for a few bosses. I think you know which ones I'm talking about right off the top of your head there. Yeah, we dropped this guy about as fast as Capcom's stock, so we're good to go. Anyway, I'll try to be informative in this, but chances are it's just going to be me mumbling along for about the next hour. These guys are going to get theirs in about 10 to 15 minutes if I'm doing my math correctly. The order we're going to be taking here might be a little nonsensical at times, although this is a good starting point, because you're going to be able to get all the items right off the bat. Actually, to be honest, my normal runs when I'm doing this game start with Crystal Snail, of all things. And the reason for that, like I said, is because you can get all the items in that stage right off the bat. And here, we're not going to fool around with every enemy. In fact, we're going to be skipping just about every one in the entire first half, I believe. You know, yeah, we'll flub up a jump here and there, and it's bound to happen. I'm just not very good when it comes to the speedrun stuff, usually. You know, got your heart tank, got the one and only sub-tank I think we're going to pick up this entire playthrough. This isn't a 100% run, which is probably another reason why I have issues with getting through games without dying. I tend to want to get everything, and that's not always the best solution. Most of the enemies in this stage aren't even a factor. You just speed right through the lot of them. I mean, how many have I attacked so far? Maybe 4 or 5? And really, I didn't even have to do that. And you know, we're pretty much to the boss shutter right off the bat. And Wire Sponge himself, I mean, he's just not a very hard boss at all, and really if you're a newbie, this is the best place to start. I mean, the strike chain shield's probably going to screw you up at first, but chances are you'll be able to get through it with little to no trouble at all. You can see I'm using that double dash damage trick. You'll fire a pellet when you're grounded, and you'll be able to do twice the damage, basically a charge buster shot right to him without any of the effort. It's kind of funny because I'm really using a lot of the tricks I used in the no damage runs of the stages that I did. And it's kind of funny. Now granted, I'm getting popped a bit here because it's been a while. And, you know, we're not trying to get through this without taking any damage. It's okay. But, I mean, you just have to keep on going. I've kind of lost my train of thought there. You'll have to forgive me. It's been a couple of days since I recorded this. I don't remember every move I made. I do know there are some parts where I really screw things up, and it almost cost me. But anyway, once we have the strike chain, then we go to Wheel Gator. Now he's usually my number 2 pick no matter what anyway, but he'd be after Crystal Snail, and that's kind of a stupid move really. Because I mean, let's face it, going this way with the strike chain, I'll be able to pick up the capsule right off the bat. And that's an important thing to get. because I love being able to damage bosses a lot faster than I can right now. You know, it's kind of amazing because, like I said before, the X2 playthrough that I did earlier this year, I was not good at making that jump with the strike chain whatsoever. And usually I just come back to the stage after I got the air dash from Overdrive Ostrich. This way, though, we're charged up and ready to go. I don't remember if I use charged weapons all that much. I tend to just want to rush through it as quickly as I can this time around. Mainly because before I had gotten this run in, I had 2 screw-ups about the halfway point, and they were both in very dumb ways that I'll point out later. Now, I think you can get the upgrade, the heart tank here, with the charge strike chain, but it's not really worth risking. I know I won't be that many, since we're going to be getting the full set of armor as we go along. And that'll allow it. I should stop that. Anyway, that'll allow us to be able to use more weapon energy as we go. This is kind of a pseudo speed run, you can see. I'm trying to be fancy, and that's going to cost me a couple times. Really, that's never been my style. I'm one of those players that just rushes in and does things crazy. And even there, I screw up in getting the health pellet, which would have made this fight a little less tense than it's going to be. Still, Wheelgator himself isn't exactly that bad either. It's just that it's going to be a long, drawn-out one. You know, I bring Strike Chain out because in the very last run before this, I was able to combo him 5 times with that Strike Chain, and that just does a total number on him. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be happening at all this time. And he's kind of making me angry by constantly diving into the depths there to make this fight drag out even longer, but I think he starts to tone it down a bit now. Honestly, this fight could have gone a lot better. But it's still going to work out. I mean, I don't even think I've been hit, or maybe I was hit by a wheel. I wasn't really paying attention there for a moment. And I missed the strike chain finale because I shoot it off too soon. And that's the real issue with this weapon. And why I don't like it as much is for bosses like Wheelgator anyway. Still, you get him done, and now you're set for the X-Hunters, or you will be after the next stage. Yeah, it's mainly because I believe it's Violin that disappears first, and he disappears after the 4th stage, I believe you defeat. This way, though, this gives me a chance to beat one more stage, which I want to do. And for a while I thought the X-Hunter appearances were random in which stages they are, you can actually easily control them. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to be doing Bubble Crab next, if only to get Violin's weakness, which is one of the 2 things I really want, because Violin himself is probably the hardest part of this entire run, that first fight with him. I mean, that mace does a ton of damage, and this time, the first time around, you don't get the blocks for protection, so it's just crazy. I've never been good at dodging that mace when it's bouncing all over the place. But anyway, back to Bubble Crab stage, you can see that it's not really all that bad. I mean, you saw me speedrun this stage, I believe, when I did the main run. You do a dash jump off that wall and you can skip a large chunk of this section. And even though I don't remember the exact places to jump to get past these jellyfish with little or no trouble, I'm still, what, about less than a minute in and we're already inside here. Even better this time around, I have his weakness, so I won't be complaining too much about that. Literally this entire first bit, the first 4 stages I'm doing here, just preparation for Violin. I mean, I got the hard tank in the wire sponges stage, and the sub-tank. The sub-tank's there for just as a precaution in case things go totally wrong and I actually am forced to use it. Then you get Violin's weakness and things are going to be fine. And this will cause him to show up in our next stage, which I'll get into once we get there. For now, though, it's just a simple matter of luring Bubble Crab around and hitting him with that wheel a few times. Honestly, again, I'm damage racing him right now. I know I can beat him. I still can't believe he gave me the most trouble of all 8 Mavericks when I was doing the no damage run in the regular stages. That was just crazy. I honestly thought Magna Centipede was going to be one of the toughest, and that one turned out to be easy. Anyway, now that we've got Violin's weakness, and we've got a little extra health, and the backup sub-tank to use, we're going to go face him in Morthmoth stage. Now generally I fight Violin in the 3rd stage, because he'll appear in Overdrive Ostriches after you Crystal Snail and Wheel Gator. But if you do it like that, the problem is you're not going to have the armor, and I kind of want that right now. I want to make sure that I don't run the risk of flubbing this up at all. I generally have a habit of when things are going south to panic a little bit, and that's what usually costs me in a no-death run. But now this time I've got the Buster, I've got the armor, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. Although, I'll be honest, there was a moment where I was kind of worried that I wouldn't be able to beat him even like this. And even in the couple of runs before this that I was talking about, he gave me a lot of trouble. He didn't kill me, but he came darn close. You know, here we're using the slope glitch to just get past this section as fast as possible. No reason to play around or do the victory hops like I usually do. Again, the last thing I want to do is screw this up at any point now. These bug bosses that used to give me so much trouble when I was a little kid, just going down in one pass. It's kinda, yeah, I actually have more problems with the green ones in this stage, if I remember correctly. But here we go with one of the hardest fights in the game, if not the hardest. When Violin just gets up close like that and he does this pattern, this is my least favorite one of all. This one I can handle a lot better, because I mean, it's just so easy to dodge no matter where it is. But that random mace, that slower moving one, I mean, I guess I shouldn't call it random, because it always goes in the same little arc, but it's still a pain in the butt to deal with. But luckily, you know, he plays nice, and I'm able to take him down before he can even take off half my health. And even better, right after this, you know, there are the pellets right down on the ladder section coming up here. So we can get right back up to full, and then we're ready to go. I don't know why I still have the bubbles out at this point. But I guess I just want to try to be fancy again, and that's just something I'm not really good at doing. Still, I mean, all things considered, once you get past Violin, there isn't much that I'm worried about. I mean, there's one boss coming up. I think it's the next stage. I could be wrong. And yeah, it's another X-Hunter fight that I'm not very good at. But, you know, it's not like it's the end of the world if I screw it up, because that one didn't damage you that hard. I'm talking about Surges, not Agile, of course, because Agile's just a chump. But Surges, for whatever reason, you know, he starts doing that little spinning attack, and I just... Either way, though, I mean, most of these bosses that would give me problems back in the day are pretty easy to deal with. As always, Moth. The first half of this battle is nothing. You just sit there, dodge the occasional piece of flying debris, and then just try and get into that second form real quickly. I mean, there I'm not even really trying to dodge. It's like, I know I've got this, as long as I don't outright run into Moth's second form. And then the jerk decides that he wants to drop right down on me just to make me a little annoyed. And I swear, that second form does not look like a moth. That looks like a flying bunny. Still, he'll stay in the corner and he's gone in no time. I think all the time I fought him when I was a kid, I'd always try to climb up high and for some reason think that being above him was a good idea. And of course it's not. Just stay grounded and stay in the corner and you'll get this one done in no time. Going pretty well right now. We're 4 down. Oh, that's right. I remember why I chose Magnus Centipede. See, the reason why I went with Magnus Centipede and Agile next is because the X-Hunter fighting Crystal Snail's stage is kind of a jerk move, X2's biggest jerk move. Because if you fight an X-Hunter in Crystal Snail's stage, when you're descending back down, like on the other side of the door, after you beat him, there are instant kill spikes on the other side there, and that is just an unbelievable thing, because you won't see them and you'll land right on them. And I think there's like 3 or 4 like that, and it's... no, I do not like that. Normally, the way I do this game, since I've been talking about the path, you heard Crystal Snail Wheelgator, and then I'd face Violin and Overdrive Ostrich, I'd face Surges then and Moth, and I believe Agile gets taken care of in Wire Sponge the way I go. Another mini boss killed in 1 hit. And here comes one of the mistakes I'm talking about. I'm trying to avoid the lights completely. 1, 2, I think I got hit by 2 or 3, and now the blocks are going to fall super fast and try to block me from getting into the X-Hunter door. In one run they did, and I just called it right there because I wasn't happy with how that entire run was going. But this time it worked out alright. I got a little bit lucky. And Agile's not exactly what I'd call a threat. I mean, he's super fast, and he'll do that dash move, and I think maybe catch me off guard once or twice with it. But really, again, since I have the boss's weakness for this stage, I'm not really worried about anything other than just getting out of here with maybe half health, and I'll be fine. I mean, I'm not even playing it careful like I normally would. I'm just going, okay, let's just get this over with. And he's done in just like a few seconds. It's amazing how much easier this guy is compared to Violin and Surges. Arguably in both forms, because even the spaceship, the thing that he transforms into, is just easy as pie. And even though I activated the blocks, I managed to avoid the searchlight, so this guy is another chump. I don't remember what his weakness is, which is kind of sad. Still, I mean, it's not like I can't just damage him real quickly with the Buster anyway. there might be the one and only victory hop of the playthrough. I don't remember doing another one. But, you know, you had to work that in somewhere. Old habits are kind of hard to break, and I love doing that. Generally, when I do that in a playthrough, it's more or less so I can stall for time and just add an extra comment or two. Here, it's just because I know things are going to go well. And Magnus Centipede, so just... It's funny because this guy used to be such a problem, but, you know, if you shake out of that tail... And it doesn't take that much button mashing to do, hitting left and right. I mean, it's pretty easy. And he's going down pretty quickly, all things considered, this time around, because usually he's a jerk and I'll miss with about 5 different silk shots. Although I did just miss with 2 in a row right there. It's not the end of the world. And then that double shot that can do 5 damage. The one advantage I have in these games is that I have a very fast trigger finger. So, it's pretty easy to do those double shots and just hit them like that. When you're doing a 6 of their life bar with just the double power shot, things go by pretty quickly. Now, the other run that I had where there was the failure, the one I had just done before deciding to just record it right after that, was this stage. Now, for this one, I think y'all can guess the part where I screwed up at, and it wasn't Surge's, it was the bike ride, because I tried to be cool again and get the hard tank in. For some reason, my brain decided it was a good idea to not even turn back when I got the hard tank, and I slammed right into that spike wall like an idiot. And I'm going to live to regret that mistake, partially. The one where I just picked up the health pellet there, even though I had maybe like 1 or 2 bars gone. The reason I did that is because one of the last times I'd fought Surges in a failed run, I only walked out of that fight with 1 bar of health left, and it was not a pretty thing. This guy and that circling attack, I have never been good at dodging it. Even if I dodge that, that's when the guy decides to do a double jump on me and hit me with that instead. So generally, this is another fight that I'll just damage race like crazy. And it's really a good thing that I picked up the armor, because I think otherwise I might have died on a couple of these previous attempts. I think I do well enough here that it's not that bad. Yeah, delay the inevitable. Yeah. Give me the Zero part. Obviously, we're going to be saving Zero in this run because, goodness knows, I don't want to do that final stage with having to go through 3 bosses at once. Besides, I want the good ending. You know, it's the holiday season, although probably by the time I upload this, it's going to be closer to my birthday than anything. And I'd rather have the red Zero instead of the dark, shadowy one, you know? And I like the color black more than red, but, you know, you want to save the real thing. Not even going to worry about the sandstorm generator and just keep on going. And right there you see that I don't even bother dashing, because it's like, I know I'm not getting that hard tank without screwing up. Because generally that's the way things go for me. The longer a session, play session goes, the more I just screw things up. But still, now we've got 3 of the 4 capsules. And the reason we're going for these, if you remember, is that if you get a full armor set, you get more weapon energy for everything. Still, you know, we're running pretty low on health. And like I said, it kind of made me nervous for this boss fight, because Overdrive Ostrich is one of those ones that sometimes it goes really, really well. And then other times I'll screw it up and I'll get hit with that Sonic Slicer of his. And I can't afford to take too many more hits here. never mind the fact that X destroyed a missile at point-blank range and stood the explosions and wasn't hurt a single little bit, but you know, a little wind blade will cause like 2 or 3 bars of damage. Never mind that kick. That thing is the most deadly move. But yeah, I do not like trying to dodge that move. It's another one of those ones that I'm not good at avoiding, but maybe half the time. Still, we're getting through this one. I think I've been hit once to this point, so I'm feeling good again. And then, of course, you know, I get lucky because I think if he would have landed on me before that Sonic Slicer would have hit, I'd probably be back at the beginning of this whole run again. Still, I gotta get some heart tanks. Luckily, the last 2 stages that we have left are ones that I'm pretty sure I pick up in this playthrough. But first, Dr. Kane's gotta constantly waggle his eyebrows up and down there. Or he would have if I didn't skip right through it. This is another part of this run that I was always worried about, going for that heart tank, because again, when I played this game when I was younger, I was not good at using the right armor to do that hover dash jump thing over that long pit, and more often than not I'd land in the thing just by a smidge. Still, nowadays I can make it without even needing to use an air dash or anything out of it. Actually, I think I had one run in, because I did like 5 of these runs. I had one run in when I was on that platform going back. I just decided to jump early, and I landed in the pit about, maybe 2 Mega Mans away from landing on safe ground. All things considered, I was pretty pleased to this point. I mean, here I'm just kind of ignoring most enemies. I mean, I'm getting annoyed that I'm getting hit a bunch because, you know, the whole no damage thing in my head. I'm trying to get rid of that. In fact, I don't know what I'm thinking here, but this is going to annoy me. This is like a comedy of errors where I just keep missing for a few seconds. Come on. There you go. I mean, honestly, I could have just come up to this fight and used Spin Wheel on him or Silk Shot, and he would have been dead just as quickly. Oh well. Now we go down here, like I said, to get that last armor piece. And that'll make the rest of the game pretty easy. I mean, right now we're only working with 20 health, so I'd like to make, or do some things that'll help give me an advantage, because I don't have too many going for me right now. Again, in my mind, using the sub-tank's kind of like cheating, even though I said I would use it for violin. I'd be disappointed if I would have used it. And I don't think I do. But you never know. And for some reason, these bats are a lot more annoying than they were when I did the no damage run in this place. I'm having major issues doing even small jumps. Because like I said, once you start getting to this point, all of a sudden I start making mistakes that are crazy. But again, for the most part, the rest of this is going to go somewhat, or pretty darn smoothly, at least the Mavericks stages. I do know I decided to have a little fun with Crystal Snail here, since he's not a very hard boss at all. Just have a little fun tossing his shell around. You know, they give him a... You know, I want to say this right now. They give this guy a speed rating, I think, under 1,000 in the game. I don't know why, because when he's in the shell, he's pretty dang fast. And when you get him out of this shell, you see him dashing around like a maniac. So either way, he's one of the fastest Mavericks in this entire game. It's kind of crazy when you think about it like that. And we get the shell finish. But seriously, it's kind of amazing that they do that. I mean, I'm trying to think of a Maverick that's faster than Crystal Snail in this game, and I can't. I mean, maybe Flame Stag? Even Overdrive Ostrich isn't that fast when he's just running. Oh well. Anyway, last up is Flame Stag. I think he was last in the main run too, if I'm not mistaken. Return to Stagnation. Yeah, I had to get one lame pun in there too. Sorry about that. I don't know why I decided to ride up on this beetle either. Again, it's just like, I don't always make the fastest decisions. Like, here I'm just doing whatever, and again, it's like that the moment that I used it, I went, why did I do that? I wanted to use that on surges. But, you know, whatever. You get the third hard tank of this run, and the rest of the stage is pretty easy, all things considered. I think, you know, the only thing you gotta worry about are those bugs at the very end there, that it can ignite the flame pillars. I'm not even bothering to use Sonic Slicer this time. I'm just going with whatever I got. Not always the brightest idea. Again, you know, there's a difference between no damage run and speed run mentality. I'm more of a perfectionist than a guy that gets the job done quickly. At least when I'm doing these game playthroughs anyway. And once again, I don't know why I decided to do this, because I remember that Bubble Splash isn't exactly the most reliable weapon when you get his charge form out, because Flame Stag can sometimes disperse enough of those bubbles to throw off the timing by just a little bit when you're trying to jump in. Really, you just want to use the uncharged form. It's a little bit faster, but a lot easier, a lot safer. Still, with that guy out of the way, we've taken care of Ollie pretty darn quickly. I gotta say, I was pretty happy with this, because, I mean, this is only the first time that I made it past them in the 5 previous runs, and the other ones that I haven't mentioned failures on, I just stopped in the opening stage, so really I didn't spend too long doing this, maybe an hour and a half. And this video is, what, an hour? Now granted, I'm hitting the fast forward key, because I admit it, I'm using ZS and ES for this. So anytime you see a robot exploding, I'm just pressing that key and like, come on, come on. So really this whole hour-long run was more like, 45 minutes, I think. Maybe 50. Anyway, the first X-Hunter stage would be dangerous if I didn't know how to take these guys out. I do not like dealing with the slide moves at all. Because more often than not, they'll hit me when I'm trying to climb up and get into that little safe zone if I don't take them out quickly. I think this is one where you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, and sometimes he'll send me right back down into the walls that are closing in, and then he'll crush me. And that's happened so many times back in the day. But nowadays, I know how to take him out without even worrying about anything. And that would be with the Sonic Slicer. And even though this one's not a big threat, and it's really just the last one I need it for, it's like I'm not going to take any chances. I mean, I'm not even really trying to avoid damage too much at this point, because I know that Violin's not going to out damage race me with Bubble Splash here. this time around, I'm pretty sure I wait until I'm charged up before going in the door, because it's like, this is one where, yeah, his body's so big that it doesn't matter. He's going to get hit by this. Really, it's amazing how much Violet's second form is easier than the first. Mainly because by, of course, at this point, you've got the armor, you know, a couple heart tanks. I mean, yeah, I got down a little low on health, but not to the point where I was actually worried about screwing this whole run up. The next stage, you know, if I had a little bit more confidence in doing this in a single segment run, I would be speedrunning this stage just as fast as I did in the X2 playthrough back in the spring. But I just don't remember enemy placement as well as I do, because that's how I usually go about these things when I'm recording for you guys in the main runs, is that I've watched somebody else's playthrough and I literally memorize about, oh gosh, as much as I can from the stage, where the enemies are, what they'll do, just anything like that. And X2's enemies are pretty easy to deal with once you know what's coming. Again though, like right there in the back when I did this mainly, I dashed right under that one so I could get above this one real quickly, just to save myself like, you know, 10 seconds of time. But here it's like, nope, we're going to wait, and we're going to wait, and we're just going to play it safe, because, you know, this is really the last stage that's dangerous in the run. Outside of maybe the final one, if you're not careful against Sigma. I mean, again, I just do not care about taking chances, so I'll just play this the way I normally do, and just sit there and take damage from the flame pillars. But just to make sure Surges doesn't screw this run up, I'm gonna get just a little bit of health there. Because you never know how things are gonna go. And again, I'm trying not to use that sub-tank, because to me, the only place I would have needed, I passed already. Still, this is another one of those bosses that can kind of make you start to panic if you don't hit him quickly. And I don't mean with this first part, I'm just talking about when you're dealing with the green energy orbs that alternate between going forward and, or the cardinal directions and then diagonally. You know, just you want to get the sweet spot right on the edge of this ride, and then you can just go to town on him. He might hit you once or twice, but again, it all comes down to if you can hit him faster and he can hit you, and we can. Guess this is his fight in the Surges capsule. Yeah, prophecy. I don't know what prophecy he's really talking about. That's one of those... Although I told you about the translated line in the Japanese version being more like basically giving away that he was wily. Yeah, supposedly Surges actually gives Zero his saber too, so go figure. That's why you don't see Zero with the saber in X1 at all. Anyway, we get to the worst song in the game, which is still pretty catchy. I always liked Agile, but you know, most everyone's right. That second form of his is just so ridiculous looking. Kind of reminds me of, you know, the little dispenser that you put toilet paper on, a toilet paper roll on. Only instead of that, you get Agile's face staring at you. So that's, you know, not a pretty sight. This stage goes about as well as it can. You know, obviously, since we don't have all the upgrades, there's no point going up top and risking ending this run in pathetic fashion. I always notice that I play a lot more cautiously, no matter what, when it gets like past the half hour in game time. It's just like I'll slow down, because the last thing you want to do is just screw it up, end it on a bad note, and have to do this over. Because, like when I was doing the Mega Man 4 run, I mean, I had 3 successful goes out of 20. Here I have 1 out of 6, and yeah, I don't know. It's just like you wish you had a little bit more confidence to do things and make them go just a bit faster. And even with this fight, I don't really know what I'm doing, because again, it's just so much easier if you just get above him and just stay up there the whole fight. Instead, it's just like, yeah, he's not going to kill me anyway, so let's just shoot Magnet Mine from down here. Still, that is such a dumb-looking boss. Anyway, I don't know. This was the part of the run where I just started to go into the that zone where it's just like you don't worry about anything else. You don't know what you're doing. You're just sort of playing. Then all of a sudden you go, "Oh, how did I get here?" Oh, Mega Man X Highway Hypnosis or something here. Yeah, maybe I'm just too busy thinking about what's going to be coming up at the end. I mean, now that we're to the refights, I'm not really all that concerned. I mean, the only thing I'm worried about now is screwing up and jumping too high against Bubble Crab. That's about it. Because I know I did that in the refight video. Again, it's like, I know I did these videos like 7-8 months ago, but to me a lot of these ones are still fresh in my head. I still remember a lot of the mistakes that I made. And here at first, the plan for this stage was to do a no health pickup run. So in other words, just do it with 1 life bar and not even worry about that. But I quickly find out that I'm not as good at this refight thing as I remember. Because, I mean, you get picked off here and there, and it adds up pretty quickly. And I think I get just destroyed by one of the bosses. I can't remember which one, but one of them I'm making just 3 or 4 mistakes on. Maybe it was Bubble Crab again, but I don't know. I mean, I know Magna Centipede's actually getting me a few times here too now I'm watching him again. I don't remember him doing this well against me. I gotta say, I like how this whole thing went for the most part this stage, but there were a couple of moments where I was nervous. I remember that much. This would not be one of them, though, because Flame Stag is just so pathetically easy with his weakness weapon done right. I mean, you just jump, hit him, Really, this is one of the easiest refights in the series, if not the easiest. Pretty sure I go and take on Bubble Crab next, because I'm looking at my health and I'm going, yeah, you know, it's up high enough that I don't have to worry about screwing things up against him. And goodness knows, you know, I had to fight him again so many times when I was doing that refight video back in the day, because it was, I think that was a 90-minute deal where I was trying to get through just these 8 fights. And there's nothing more infuriating than getting past the hard fight and then screwing it up on someone else. But, you know, this time around, basically once I got past that Overdrive Ostrich stage in the run, I knew I was going to get through the X-Hunter stages in one go. Yeah, I guess Bubble Crab did do a number on me there, because I remember being, okay, I'm at half health, now I'm going to have to be careful now, you gotta worry about not getting hit, and then I'm just going to myself, No, stop thinking like that and pick up a health pellet if you need it. Quit trying to show off, because that's when you usually screw up. And there I was kind of worried that I was about to use the sub-tank, but, you know, I made sure not to press start until I got over to Magnet Mine. Now this time I remember the Crystal Snail fight being a lot funnier. I was kind of laughing as I was doing it, because I'm pretty sure I bounced the shell along for the entire fight. And it just looks so ridiculous how he just hops around and he's like, no, give that back! And of course, you know, basically Mega Man's being a total jerk here, is what I'm saying. It's like all he wants to do is get back in his shell and you won't let him do it. And then when he dies, the shell, he's basically looking like he's sitting right on the thing, which just looked awesome when I saw it. I never really like pausing the screen to go for weapons because I'm still using the 360 controller from way back when. Although I use the analog stick when I play, it's a lot easier to climb up ladders and do that sort of stuff. But it can still be a little finicky when you're doing the weapon switching. And again, with the fast fingers, you can do with the L and R trick pretty easily. And I have no idea why this cucumber plant can shoot lightning, but really, you know, you don't really think, you shouldn't think about it. I'm a big fan of cucumbers. Anyway, I don't want to go too often to random tangents this time. It's just, well, I don't remember what I was thinking at around this point, but I do know that I'm getting closer to just being like, okay, let's pick up one health pellet. It's like I'm starting to cave in now. I'm starting to think, well, you know, one health pellet here is not going to hurt. And it's probably a good idea that I pick this up because, like I said, I'm just one of those people that screws things up the longer a run takes. I make mistakes that, you know, I normally wouldn't. Some people with practice get better, but usually my best goes are in the first 2 or 3 tries, or otherwise it's going to be a long, long recording session. And see right there, it's just one of those things, it's a good thing I picked that up, because now I see my health and I'm like, oh my god, what have I almost done? And see, I almost did the same thing in the Mega Man 4 single segment run, where I was against Dive Man. He's one of the easiest bosses to me. And yet I just completely screwed up his pattern, and all of a sudden I was there with like 1 hit left, and I was just completely nervous. And the same thing happened here, so it's like, you know what, no. Get the health, get back in shape. Even though you know you can beat these bosses without much health, don't risk it. I mean, again, we're only working with 3 heart tanks. And it's probably a good thing that I didn't decide to go for the other heart tanks and doing a 100% run, because, like I'm saying, even trying to get some of those can be dangerous. The one in Wheel Gators is the one I'm always most worried about when I'm getting, because you just don't know. And of course, you know, every time I try to be cool with the strike chain, I screw it up. And now I'm even starting to have problems pressing L and R at the same time just to switch back to the X-Buster. But now that Wheel Gator's in the easiest part of his pattern, where you can just destroy him with those dashing pellets, it's just like, whew. And then now I have more health for Overdrive Ostrich. I don't even think I go for another health pellet, since I'm pretty confident at this point I've got the stage taken care of. You know, one thing I didn't show off in this fight is, in the old videos, that this area is different looking than the one he fights in before. It's like the hills are in different places. Like, the far left side of the screen is just this one giant hill that slopes upward, only at a much steeper incline than the one I'm on right now. I don't remember if it's as long as the one that you face them in regularly, because that place is the largest boss arena, I'm pretty sure, in the entire Mega Man X series. And maybe the entire franchise, to be honest with you. Still, you get through that, there's one stage to go, and there is one more thing to show off, pending I don't screw it up. And that's what I was saying to myself at this time. It's like, do I go back? Because you only really get one chance at this. And what I'm talking about is seeing if you can still get the upgrades here. Because I said, I think you can, but I didn't know for sure. So my idea was, since the first item you get in this stage is the heart tank, and I figure I'd go up and get it, or at least try to, but I can't be hit by one of the spotlights, or otherwise, you know, those cubes come down and then you can't use Spin Burner to dash over to it like here. But yep, you still can, and that gives me a little more confidence, because that it's just 2 extra bars of health, but every little bit counts to me at this point. Because again, I'm not using a sub-tank on Sigma. To me, this is one of the easiest Sigma fights in the series. It's either this or X4's final part. And even then, I'd probably give it to this one, because X4 still has that, the 2 forms to it. The giant alien's easy, but the giant head on the floor in the bottom left, that one can be annoying at times. And, you know, Zero comes in, says there's only one Zero, even though there's, you know, he just destroyed a Zero. We'll see another Zero in X6. He gets taken over by one that becomes the final boss of Zero 3. He becomes a Biometal in ZX. And then there's a spiritual reincarnation in Legends 3. Hey, it's gonna get released one day. Capcom will wake up. I hope. Anyway, Neo Sigma, because, you know, he wanted to make his name sound cooler. You know, he gets to be his, he gets to cosplay as an X-Men character, I guess. I know I don't, yeah, I figured as much, because I remember just switching to Sonic Slicer and going, screw trying to hit him with the Buster, let's just get this over with. And normally when I'm fighting him, I would just use the Buster, but it's like, I know I'm working with a limited amount of health, and I know that I don't have the timing down on the final form all that well, and even then I'm going to screw this up a couple times just when he's doing that electric spark move. I'm going to jump right into him for some reason, because, you know, I always got to make things a little harder on myself. And then just for good measure, I decide, you know, why not give him another hit? Let's make this a little more tense on me, because goodness knows I don't want to screw this up. Actually, you know, I'm looking at this background and I'm thinking Toxic Seahorse's stage, except that the reactor in the back is gray. Oh, and there's some more of that 360 analog issues I was talking about. Not to mention my nerves are probably going, come on, you can do this, Bean, you can make it through this. And then I'm like just trying to say to myself, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? I've forgotten how to do this. And then I get hit by the head right away. I think after that one, though, I start to get the hang of this again. Or maybe not. Still, I know there is a point where things start coming together, and really I'm just trying to hit him as quickly as I can anyway, since this boss, again, it's another one of those ones that it's pretty easy to damage race. He doesn't do too much pain as long as you just keep hitting him and hitting him really quickly. Because, I mean, when he was on the ground there, I just took like half of his purple health, and now he's on the orange. And he really doesn't get hard until he goes light red. And at this point, I'm saying to myself, as long as I don't get trapped inside of him too early, I've got this. And with these extra little hits I'm getting in, it's pretty much over right now. And there you go. I mean, I did it, and that's pretty cool. I believe I let out a giant yeah when I got this one done. So, you know, out of all the few hundred games I've probably beaten over the years, I have now managed to get through 3 without dying. Kind of makes me embarrassed that I screw up at all these other easier games like Kirby, the one with Princess Peach and Starfy, and Metroid Prime even, because I got through that whole game, and you know what got me in that one? The final boss when he had maybe 2 hits to go. But then again, that first form took like so much. You know what, let's not worry about all the failures. Let's celebrate hard-earned victory. I can't believe I've been able to do this entire recording in one go without stuttering all that much, but then again, when you're being somewhat vague, you can get away with it. And again, another reason this one didn't feel as long as it did was because the moment I saw the ending sequence where X was running out with the explosions, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward, just holding it down the whole way through, all the way until you see Zero getting ready to shoot his little energy blasts at Capcom, because even he's not happy with how they've been acting lately. He knew, even 17 years ago, what was going to happen. Kind of amazing how this franchise is going, though, now that I think about it, because the classic series, it always had its vision. It was, you know, just Mega Man versus Dr. Wily, kind of a cartoon little world. Then you move on to Mega Man X, and it's trying to be a little bit darker, but still not too bad, at least for the first half of the series. Then as time goes on, it tries to be more and more of a story-based game. You know, the X series itself went through so many changes as it went along. I mean, the first 3 games had the same structure of gameplay, and it made sense. And then 4 through 6 tried to be more of an anime type thing. I liked 4 more for the gameplay than the anime, but, you know. And then 5's where it started to bug me a little bit, because that one, I don't know if you guys have seen that one video that was posted, the sequelitis thing with Mega Man, where he talks about Mega Man X and how it basically told you from the first stage what you were going to become. And then you see X5's design decisions and you just go, what are you doing? Because goodness knows I like being stopped all the time by Alia. Or is it Alia? I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Anyway, X gets to ride on a bike back home. Honestly, again though, X2 would wound up being my favorite of the SNES games again, because it's excuse me, it's just so much faster paced than the other 2. It doesn't have those long empty stretches, and when it does, it's usually because you've played well. Like the Magna Centipede part, that would be a long stretch of nothing when you're dashing along the floor, because you managed to avoid the searchlights. I don't know. I mean, 1 and 3 are still good games, and 1's a great game. I just don't know if I could go through either of those ones without doing a no-death run in them, though. Because, like I said, you've seen me against in Mega Man X1. That final boss gave me so many problems, even with full armor, 100% items. There's just something about that one. X3 I could see myself doing, though. That one, again, that's not bad. The only two parts that would really worry me with that are fighting crushed crawfish, or just even making the simple jumps in Doppler 1 where the spike wall is lowering on you. Sorry, Neo Sigma, but Crystal Snail's faster than you too. You know, who knows how much power Mega Man X has? Well, anyway, guys, this was the Mega Man X2 single segment. No death run. Zero's shooting a saber. I win. That's probably the end of the video. I'll see y'all next time. I'll see y'all next year.